Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
And Matt Jackson.
What's going on, guys?
It's good to see you, fellas. Good to be back talking prospects again. Thank you, Mr. Rupert, in particular, for battling through some sickness to be on the show tonight. We're glad to have you.
It's just a stomach bug. Nothing's going to stop me from talking about Jeremiyah Love.
Preach.
Well, if you need to disappear at any point during the podcast, I won't blame you.
Don't mind me if my camera just gets shut off for a few moments.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeremiyah Love, I mean, worth battling through a stomach bug for, right? On today's show, we are going to be continuing our Inside the Prospect series. So if you're new, welcome. This is a series really that we start at the beginning of December and go all the way through April, where we every week break down different prospects in depth on the show. We go through at least 3 games, but usually 5 or more games of all 22 film on each of these prospects. We make our notes, we make film grades, and we don't talk to each other about it until we come here live on the show. And you get kind of our live, genuine reactions to each other's film analysis. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the presumed top running back of the 2026 class. He is a junior out of Notre Dame. Jeremiyah Love, 6 foot, 214 pounds, was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. In 2025, he put up 1,372 yards and 18 touchdowns on 199 attempts. And all the while, he's sharing the backfield with Jadarian Price, who is no slouch himself. Price ran for 674 yards. So, yeah, I mean, this is a dynamic duo of a backfield. If Love didn't have Price there, he probably would have put up even more monster numbers. And honestly, not only is he the presumed top running back, I think if we were doing rookie drafts right now today, he would probably be the consensus 101, even in Superflex drafts. So this is a big name. It's a name that you're going to need to know. And we're going to talk about it tonight. Does the film justify the hype? And by the way, he also catches passes. He caught 34. Wait, that doesn't make sense. It says he caught 34 of 27 targets, but I think it's the other way around. He caught 27 passes on 34 of his targets, right? That makes more sense. You can't have more catches than you have targets. So,
that is correct. I'm looking it up right now. Just 27 receptions on 34 targets.
280 yards and another 3 scores. So
he also had 237 yards and 28 receptions last year as well. So back-to-back years.
For sure. So we're going to get into the tape, and also special shout out to our guy Garrett, who makes the show sheets for us. He also kind of has an analytics background and adds some data to these things. That we're film first guys, so our approach is really film driven but data supported. And so Garrett moving forward is going to be adding some relevant data for us to reference on the show as we talk about these different attributes in film, and we'll see if the data in the film match up. So before we get into all of this, I do want to, again, because this is a new series, we have new listeners, and this is our first time doing the running back position. I want to give a brief overview of the running back position. So first, we scout vision and patience, which is, I mean, you can have all the athleticism and all the traits in the world, but if you can't read the defense, understand the blocking scheme, go where you're supposed to go, I mean, we've seen that in the past. I think of a guy like Miles Sanders, who had so many high-level athletic traits, But our guy Christopher Harris would say he had elite blindness. So it really held him back from ever being what he could have been. So we start with vision and patience. Then we talk about elusiveness and tackle breaking. We talk about athletic things like burst, explosiveness, game speed, quickness to change direction. We talk about contact balance, pad level, and power, which is kind of the more physical elements of the running back position where you're not avoiding a tackle, you're breaking a tackle. Maybe you're running a guy over, pushing the pile, this type of thing. And then we finish up by talking about the third down skill set, receiving and how do they pass protect? Can they protect their quarterback when they're asked to stand in there and hold up against a blitz? So all of these things we think are important and to different degrees translate to fantasy points. And we'll get into all that as we go along. But that's kind of our philosophy of scouting the running back position. And I'm excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's jump into the vision and patience element of Jeremiyah Love's game. And I'll throw out the stats first, and then we'll give our film analysis, and we'll see if they match up. So some, I would say a good overall data point here is the PFF run grade, which it's a number, but it's a subjective number based on film analysis. So I'm just putting that out there. But the PFF run grade is 93.4 for Jeremiyah Love, which is the top mark in this class. So I think that speaks to the vision and patience element. I mean, you don't get the top PFF run grade in your class if you're consistently missing holes or not understanding where you're supposed to be going with the football, not reading the defense well. So I'll throw it to you first, Jackson. What did you notice here in the area of vision and patience for Jeremiyah Love?
Yeah, so both really strong skill sets for him. Just in case we do have new listeners, our grading scale we normally do it a 6 is average NFL talent, 7 is good, 8 is great, 9 is elite, and 10 is on par. Like for example, vision and patience, a 10 would be on par with Ezekiel Elliott's vision, Le'Veon Bell's patience, both known for those traits. When it came to Jeremiyah Love, I gave him an 8 for vision. I think not only did he follow his blocks really well, I thought he created really well for himself in the backfield. There were several times where I was watching him that he would bounce a ball outside, that he would elude a guy that slipped through and was in the backfield and would create on his own instead of, we're normally somebody that was trying to get what was blocked for him, he would get tackled in the backfield. Jeremiyah Love would get more yards than he was probably due. I think one of the more elite traits, and I use that word very purposely, but was his patience, right? Like I gave him a 9 for patience. One of the things that I really noticed in just about every game was his ability to stutter step, to kind of slow the game down. And then we're going to get to his athletic traits in a minute, but then just burst through the hole. I mean, time and time again, this was on his skill set. I mean, he just did both of these things at such a high level, creating in the backfield, following his blocks, making something out of virtually nothing a lot of times. And he was honestly, for his athleticism and his speed that we're going to talk about, he was more patient than I expected him to be. So both really high traits for him.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you there, Jackson. Like a lot of times when you see someone that's an athletic freak, they're not as patient. They just like to run fast right into the hole. But he really excelled with his patience. I gave him a 9 for patience and 8.5 for his vision. Saw the same thing you did, that like he could really create in the backfield. Like, defenders are blowing up the play in the backfield, and he somehow like kind of makes two defenders run into each other so he can bounce it outside. What I thought was really impressive was his vision at the second level to be able to kind of like string moves together and, take those, what would be like a 15-yard gain for most other running backs, and turn them into like a 48 or 50-yard house call. I thought his vision at the second level was very, very good.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you guys on the patience metric. I also had him at a 9, so we're unanimous there. And Yeah, not going to repeat everything that you guys said, but just, yeah, for somebody that has that explosiveness to literally just like kind of take his time in the backfield, read it, let his blocks develop, almost play peekaboo sometimes with defenders. It was, I mean, our 10 out of 10 in that category is Le'Veon Bell, and I wouldn't say it was quite to that level, but there were some moments where it shades of, right? Shades of Le'Veon Bell. And I was a little lower on the vision. I think you were at 8, Jackson, and 8.5 for you, Rupert. I was at 7.5, so not low. I mean, I still had him with an above average grade. I noticed a few instances of bouncing outside when he probably shouldn't have. It felt like when you stop and slow it down or pause it, the leverage was to the outside, and he was just like, I'm fast enough, I'm just going to get away with it. Whereas the cutback lane probably should have been to cut it upfield. And I didn't feel like I noticed a lot of manipulation of the defense in the sense of, sometimes really advanced vision guys, you'll see them kind of baiting defenders. Like, I'm going to shade a couple steps to the inside just to suck the defense in and then bounce it and make guys lose their gap integrity. And so kind of playing the mind games with the defense a little bit. I didn't really see that as much with Jeremiyah Love. It just more like felt like he pretty consistently made the right read. He followed his blocking scheme as it was designed. They would open up a big hole for him. He would hit it. He'd be patient enough to let his blocks develop. He'd hit it hard. Once he got to the second level, I saw what you saw, Rupert. Really good second level vision. So I thought he understood leverage really well for the most part. Like if the guy's got outside leverage, he's going to go inside, or vice versa. So in general, definitely a 7.5 is an above average grade. I think he has really good solid vision. I wasn't quite ready to go up to the level of saying like excellent or incredible, but I thought it was good. It was like really good, I would say. So it's just not quite to where you guys were at on that. Do you guys feel like
No. I would kind of say I think that's fair. I definitely saw several instances what you were talking about where he relied a little bit on his athleticism, possibly too much. And I mean, we're going to get to this in a second. Like, he was more than allowed to rely on his athleticism because he was the most athletic guy on the field. But like, as far as like the nuances of manipulating defenders in the backfield, I would agree with you. I didn't see that quite as much.
Yeah, and I don't
feel
want
like
to
I
paint a
saw
picture.
that.
Go ahead, Rupert.
Yeah, I feel like I saw that a decent bit. Like there's like multiple times where I feel like his kind of like, I wouldn't say patented move, but there would be a hole and he would take like one like quick like jab step forward, and then he would bounce it outside to try and like suck defenders into that hole so that he could bounce it outside. Not every time did they fall for it, but I feel like I did see like where he was going with that.
Okay. Good. Yeah. And I don't want to paint a picture either of a guy who like always bounced it outside, was afraid to go in the middle or anything like that. I thought there were multiple times on film that he didn't mind just plowing forward. Like, okay, there's not a home run here. I'm just going to plow forward, drop my pad level, get the tough yards, which a coach is going to love that. I think a coach, you worry if he won't do those things. But I don't think that's an issue with Jeremiyah Love. So I noticed out of 5 games, maybe 2 or 3 instances where I felt like he bounced or tried to bounce when he shouldn't have. We're not talking about like a every snap issue
I mean,
here. So
I think about like Saquon Barkley when he was at Penn State, right? Like, he did the same thing a little bit, and for the most part, that's been a non-factor, if that makes
sometimes
sense. Like,
there's almost an arrogance factor that comes in when you're just that
yeah,
much better than everybody else,
exactly,
and you try
exactly.
to get away with things that you shouldn't. But let's move on. We're going to talk about elusiveness and tackle breaking. Some stats here. Um, 56 missed tackles forced. Put another way, he forced a missed tackle on 28% of his rushing attempts. So that's a pretty good number. And his elusiveness rating was 123.5, according to PFF, which is top 9% in the class. So the numbers say he's pretty elusive. What did the film say, Rupert?
I thought he was incredibly elusive, especially for his size. Um, I I really enjoyed his spin move. I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's just
Yes.
from my Madden days. Like a spin
Yeah.
move is so satisfying to me
Mm-hmm.
to watch, and he just executed them so beautifully, like over and over and over again. Like you knew it wasn't just luck.
Yep.
And one of my favorite plays, he tries a spin move, but the linebackers like blew him up in his back like mid spin move, but he was still able to like push the linebacker back and still get like multiple yards after that. Um, but like he just did. It goes back to his second level kind of vision. Like he was able to string moves together, like spin move on the linebacker, like in the hole, and then juke the safety or whatever it may be. Um, I was I was honestly a little surprised with this. I thought he was more of a power back, like not being as in the college scene and watching before this, just seeing like highlights and whatnot. It felt like I was bracing myself to see more of a power back, but he was a lot more elusive than I was expecting.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Abs-
have described him as a power back
Yeah.
at all. But I mean, not that he doesn't have it. We'll talk about that part of his game in a minute. But he's 6 foot 214, so maybe a little bit on the thin side. And um, yeah, I used to think of him as like more of a scat back. I think my
Yeah.
perception of him has changed more to like an all around, well rounded back. But I'll just real quick piggyback on what you said. The spin move, man, it really was like watching a video game at certain points. And not to say that was his only move. I thought he did a really nice job with dead leg cuts and jump cuts and had a variety of ways to make defenders miss. But the spin move, I think he just understood that with his speed and explosiveness, when he's going to the edge, guys have to kind of over pursue to make sure they don't get beat to the outside, don't get beat to the corner. And so he just had this instinctive timing of like just at the right moment, he'd plant his outside foot and he'd spin back to the inside and guys would just run past him like a matador. And I saw one play in particular that like there were 3 or 4 guys all coming to gang tackle him. He put that spin move on and all 3 of them went flying past him and he was untouched. I mean, it was really a thing of beauty at certain moments. So yeah, I had a good score there for him. As I pull up my film grades, I had him at a 9 for elusiveness. So again, we don't just hand out nines like candy. Like this is we're saying he's borderline elite in a particular category. The phrase or the word that we use, the adjective on our film grade sheet is incredible. So we're saying he had incredible elusiveness, or at least I'm saying that. That was my grade for him. But yeah, he was hard to tackle, really hard to get a good, clean like wrap up tackle on him.
Yeah, no, I I think the word incredible is definitely warranted. I gave him a 9 for elusiveness as well. I'm so glad you guys brought up the spin move because Rupert, you said earlier that the plant in the ground and explode the other direction was his pivotal move, like his cornerstone move, and that's where I would disagree. Like I think his spin move was his cornerstone move. Like I saw that so much. It reminded me a little bit, and it's so funny that we've had this conversation a year and a half later. Whenever we did Quinshon Judkins, right? We were like, I thought he was going to be like he was in the video game and in the college football video game, and he was nothing like that. Literally, Jeremiah Love is what Quinshon Judkins was in last year's college football video game. Like the elusive, steerable spin moves, like juking everybody out of their shoes. I think he even does some of the nuanced stuff well, where like he'll slide out of the way just enough to like not take a full on hit, right? Where he'll be able to kind of bounce off a little bit. We're going to talk about some of that a little later, but I mean, he he's not only flashy, I think he does the nuanced stuff really well too. So that's why I gave him a 9.
For sure. So let's move on. We have hinted at this quite a few times already in the podcast, but burst, game speed, quickness, the athletic measurements here. Obviously, it matters a lot for a running back. Like your job is to run away from people. I would say in some ways it matters more than wide receiver. Like you can be a really good wide receiver without being a high level athlete, but most of the high level running backs in the NFL are also really high level athletes. So this is a big thing, and I don't I don't think we need to like bury the lead. We've been talking about it. It's hard to even talk about his other attributes without mentioning this because it sets everything else up. Like the threat of his speed and his explosiveness is what allows him to spin back on that spin move. It's what allows him to be patient and then explode when he sees a hole. So everything else gets kind of set up by the fact that this guy just moves different. Um, and some of the metrics that back this up, 52.9% of his yards came on breakaway runs. Like this guy's breakaway run rate was huge. This was 14th best in the class, but again, this is like that's not to say a lot of those guys that might be ahead of him are not NFL prospects. So you're talking about all of the FBS. You're talking about hundreds of running backs. Some of them play at the G5 level of competition. So 14th best, I don't think even does him justice, but over half of his yards came on breakaway runs. This is a guy that consistently got out in the open field and made huge plays for his team. And I definitely think the tape fully backs up those numbers. He's a home run hitter. I'll start with you, Rupert. What stood out to you the most in this area, and what film grades did you give him?
I thought his best attribute was his bursting acceleration. I gave him a 9 there, and I really debated going higher, like 9.5 or even 10, but I just felt like it was a little too early in the process for me to start giving out anything higher than that. Um, it, that's what makes his patience work so well. Like he can sit back there, and then boom, he's like exploded through the hole. No one has an angle on him. Oh, he's gone for 40 to 60 yards. I thought his top end speed was very good as well. I gave him an 8.5. Debated going on 9 as well. Um, and I think I only saw him get caught one time. Like when he's gone, he's gone. And then his quickness, I gave him an 8.5 as well. Like he's much quicker than I expected, especially like in the hole and what we talked about with his elusiveness earlier.
I'll kind of speak on what Rupert was saying because I echo everything he's saying, but I did give him a 10 for burst and acceleration. The 10 on par for that is Adrian Peterson's burst and acceleration. I don't know, man. Watching him, like the way that he's so patient, and then like immediately as soon as he turns on the jets, he's 6 or 7 yards down the field. I mean, like that. Um, I was sitting there and I was like, if I don't give him a 10 for burst and acceleration here, like I'm not going to give a 10 to anybody else the rest of the cycle. Like it's just not going to happen. And I know that we don't do that a lot, but like for me, I thought that that was warranted for him. He has a different gear. I texted you this, Cooper. He plays at a different dynamic than I've ever seen before. I gave him a 9 for game speed. I sometimes, I'm in school right now. I'm getting my master's degree, guys, and I sometimes watch my videos on 1.5 speed, especially when my professors talk slow. I'm like, let me just speed it up a little bit to make sure that I can cut down this video a little bit and then still get all the notes right. I had to go back and look at my video when I was watching Jeremiah Love, and I'm like, do I have this on 1.5 speed? Like, or is he moving that fast? Like I looked several times and no, he was just moving that fast. His burst, his acceleration, his speed. I mean, I gave him a 9 for game speed, 8.5 for quickness, as you said. Rupert's ability to stick his foot in the ground, explode the other direction, the short area quickness, make a guy miss on the hole. Like his best trait by far. Like he was dynamic in every aspect. He is the epitome of an athlete.
Yeah, I am not gonna beat a dead horse by repeating you guys. I'll just say that there were a lot of times watching the film that he reminded me of Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, you watch what he's doing in the NFL right now. Like he's the most explosive player on the field every time he touches the ball. Um, and it's it even makes me think of like when you turn on the Patriots and you're watching like Ramondre Stevenson run, and then they put in Travion Henderson, and you watch him run on the next play, and you're like, that looks different. I mean, Jeremiah Love just looks different. He moves different. He's really, really athletic. And so I gave him a 9.5 for burst. I gave him a 9 for speed. Gave him an 8.5 for quickness. pretty much saw it. I mean, we could nitpick half points, but I pretty much saw it the exact same way that you guys did. He's an elite athlete. So before we move on to talk about our last few traits here, I do want to take a quick break to shout out for you guys that are listening the great resources that we have at CouchScouts.com. We have an all 22 film room. We have a rookie scouting guide that we are working on. By the time we get to like late February, early March, we're going to have a version 1 out with at least 30 to 40 prospects on there. By the time we get to the draft, we'll have covered 70 plus in depth with film breakdowns, with film grades, with rankings, tiers, the whole thing. It's going to be the ultimate cheat sheet for dominating your rookie draft. This is the absolute best time of year between now and April to be part of the Couch Scouts family. We have weekly bonus podcasts too, where we go in depth on usually a sleeper prospect. So Jeremiyah Love is not a name that is a sleeper. Everybody's going to know Jeremiyah Love. But we're going to talk about some less hyped names, shall we say, and talk about, like, is this a guy that you should be targeting in the 3rd or 4th round of your rookie draft? And those have provided some really good value to our members over the last few years. So definitely all of those things are reasons that you want to be part of the Couch Scouts family. And I would encourage you, go check out CouchScouts.com. Subscribe today. Our packages start as little as $50 for a year, which comes out to less than $5 a month. And I think it's really good bang for your buck. So with all that being said, CouchScouts.com, let's get into the second half of our show here. And all right, we've talked about plenty of guys on this show last year, even, that were more the scat back type, right? Your Woody Marks. We loved Bucky Irving, but like his grades for power were low. Couldn't pass protect. Dylan Sampson probably fit this mold. Like, we've talked about a lot of guys that fit that archetype. You could throw RJ Harvey in there. Jeremiyah Love, we've talked about it. He was elusive. He was fast. But does he have a power element to his game? He's listed at 214 pounds. Be interested to see when he gets to the combine how much he actually weighs in at there. But what did you guys notice? Contact balance, pad level, and the physicality and power. We'll talk about all three of those things together because I think they should be talked about together. I'll throw it to you first, Jackson.
Yeah, I think 214 pounds is interesting because when you watch him, like he looks a little more slender than that. I don't think he's quite 214 personally. So I was coming in, I was with you, Cooper. I thought he was going to be a scat back. I'd always kind of heard of him talked kind of in those dimensions a little bit. And honestly, like that's not really his game all that often. Like I think that he runs with great. I mean, obviously the contact balance, his ability to shed off, especially the arm tackles. And there were several times guys were diving and slapping at his legs, and he would run through it. Like his contact balance, I gave him an 8 for because I thought he did this really well. He's not a guy that a gentle wind is going to blow him over. Like he's going to keep his feet, he's going to keep driving his legs, and he's going to keep moving forward. I gave him an 8 for pad level. I thought that, there were several times where I watched him. He got his shoulders down low. He lowered the contact into guys, and he finished runs better than you would expect him to, especially looking as slender as he would look sometimes. I did give him a 7 for physicality and power. Like, not to say that he didn't do this, like that this isn't his game, but he's not like literally the 10 we have in here is Earl Campbell or like a Marion Hampton that we scouted last year, right? So like when that's your 10, I don't think that Jeremiyah Love was to that extent. I thought that he drove his legs well. I thought that he shook off arm tackles, arm bars, that sort of thing. But he wasn't consistently running guys over. He could do it, but he would just as quickly run around you, spin move, shake you in the open field before he would do that on a consistent basis. All that to be said, like these were elements that were plus grades for me. Like my lowest grade was a 7 on physicality and power, and I'm still saying he does this at a good level. So definitely not the scat back that I thought he was going to be.
Rupert?
I saw it pretty similarly. I had 8.5 for contact balance, saw the same thing. Like I would see like linebackers or safeties like trying to do like a missile at his hip, and he would just shed it off like it was nothing. Um, I, I I thought that's a big part of what led to a lot of those breakaway runs is being able to break those initial tackles and keep his balance and then explode from there. Really liked his pad level. Gave him an 8 for that, and I actually gave him an 8 for physicality and power. I could see the argument for a little bit lower, but I feel like every time like he did, like there wasn't a big play there, and he did stick his nose in there, he'd be churning and getting 3 or 4 yards. Um, so I think for like his size, I thought he had really good power for his size.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the contact balance in a second because I mostly saw that the same way as you guys. But for power, I will disagree a little bit with you there, Rupert. You said you were at an 8. I'm at a 6.5. Um, I thought, and here's why I knocked him. I thought he had really good speed to power. In other words, when he gets to the second level unblocked with a head of steam, he could really drive a guy backwards. And I thought he played, which makes sense because he's going so fast, like momentum carries you and knocks a guy back. And it's not like he's super light. I mean, at 214 pounds. And I think too, he is like elusive enough that a guy's not usually hitting him directly on. So he's contact balance really good, which I'll talk about. So there, it's not like he lacks the power element to his game. I just thought he was really bad in the red zone. Like in short yardage, 3rd and 1, you got to get a yard, or like, you know, 1st and goal on the 1 yard line or whatever. Like in those situations, he did not push the pile at all. He just consistently got knocked backwards. So when he didn't have the speed to power to generate the momentum, and he's kind of doing it from zero, I just didn't think he was that powerful. And that's my big knock. Like he is really good in a lot of areas. I think he's going to lose some short yardage work in the NFL. I don't think that's his strength. I think I could very much see him. Most teams have a committee of some kind anyway these days, but I could see him losing some goal line touches because I just didn't see very many good reps there.
I would agree with that. There were several times while I was watching the red zone where he would get a handoff and he gets stood up a little bit. So I definitely saw that the same way.
But the pad level, I had an 8.5. I thought he consistently dropped his pads, got lower than the other guy. I had him at an 8 for contact balance. So one thing I noted was that even when he didn't break the tackle, he often would kind of stumble and fall forward for 5 yards before his knee actually touched the ground, like kind of hopping and jumping and dragging. Just you see that with like a guy like Kareem Hunt when he was in his prime, Javonte Williams before the knee injury. Like he just has a way of kind of deflecting off tackles and not always breaking it for a 50-yard touchdown run, but sometimes just getting those hidden like 6, 7, 8 extra yards before he actually goes down, which I think is a really nice skill set to have. So for me, overall, really impressed with this. And again, the data backs that up. So I didn't lead with the data this time, but um, he had 4.5 yards after contact per attempt. That's top 6% in the class. And just to compare against other top prospects from previous years, Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor both had career yards after contact per attempt 4.4 and 4.24 respectively. So that 4.5 number for Jeremiyah Love is really, really good. And that 4.5 is for this year. As a career, it's 4.35. So he's been consistently good after contact all the way through his college career and has only gotten better as things have gone along. So yeah, I think that backs up everything that we said about contact balance. And fun fact as well this is more of a physicality note, but on 433 rushing attempts in college, he's only been credited with 1 fumble. That's it. So good ball security as well, which you love to see. So
That'd be a
overall,
coach's dream.
yeah. I mean, for a guy that is profiled maybe a little bit more, like if there was one knock on him, you might say undersized. Uh, Overall, still like above average for all of us. Even my 6.5 on power, as much as I'm nitpicking him about the short yardage stuff, like 6.5 is above NFL average. So, um, this is a good thing for a guy that with his play style that he's like average or slightly above average in all these metrics is a really good thing. And the last thing we'll talk about here before we sign off is third down skill set, receiving game, and pass protection. We'll break these two up separately. And I'll start with the receiving game. Just to reiterate, he caught 27 passes on 34 targets, 280 yards in 2025. He's 8th in yards per route run among running backs with at least 20 receptions. It's top 10 in the whole country in that metric. 27 catches and 280 yards doesn't sound like that much, because it's not that much, because Notre Dame criminally underused this man as a pass catcher. I mean, that was my biggest note. Like, I was making notes that there were times, and I'm throwing out a lofty comp here. I already talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. Now I'm going to throw out another big name, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they were lining this guy up in the slot. He was running real wide receiver routes. He was winning. He adjusted to some really difficult catches, like out away from his frame. Uh, uh, he had a one-handed catch down the sideline on a wheel route where the ball was overthrown, and he had to just reach out with one hand and pluck it, like almost Odell Beckham style. And he's doing that at the running back position. So this guy, I've always talked about pass catching in 3 levels. There's a can't do it, bricks for hands, can't trust him. There's a he can catch. He's got reliable hands, but he's mostly just going to get the check down stuff. He's not out there running routes. And then that third level is like, this guy can be moved as a queen all over the chessboard. He is, the Swiss Army knife, whatever cliche you want to use, but he is the ultimate weapon in the hands of an offensive coordinator, because he can go out there and basically play slot receiver as well as playing running back. And Jeremiah Love, on top of everything else we've said about this guy, he's also at that third level. He's a weapon out there. And I gave him a 9 for the receiving game. And I I was not expecting that going into the tape watch, because you look at the raw numbers and they're not that impressive. But it was consistently game after game popping to me that I think this guy's a weapon, absolute weapon in the pass catching game. Did you
You
guys see it
know,
the same?
I walked away from that with one note, and the note was, why is Notre Dame not throwing the ball to him consistently every single game? Like that was my note, because like I noticed all the same things.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't just catching the ball like your typical running back would catch the ball. He was contorting his body. He had body control. He had extended arms. He was hand catching the ball away from his frame. He was toe tapping the sidelines. Like all stuff that an elite wide receiver, that we give 8 and 9s to wide receivers in this scouting position. Like he was doing that at the running back position. So yeah,
Mhm.
like not going to beat a dead horse. Like this guy is just a weapon among weapons in the receiving
And
game.
yards after the catch. I mean, like, obviously he's a running back and a really good one. So when he gets the ball in his hands, I mean, he can make any screen pass a house call too. So yeah, he's a weapon. Go ahead, Rupert.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse. Really liked him. I had him at an 8. I bumped it down to 7.5 after some drops, but I could totally see the argument for higher.
I only saw one drop. So maybe I need to go back and rewatch. I don't know.
It wasn't a lot. No, it was 2 that I remember, but yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, 7.5 to 9 is a pretty big difference there. So we're not seeing it the same way. Did you? I mean, when we're talking about like going out in the slot and running routes and all, I mean, did you see some of those same things or?
Yes, I did. The one-handed catch, was very eye-popping. Run to the corner and still getting like his feet down before going out of bounds. Um, yeah, I guess because I'm comparing him to Christian McCaffrey, I just have such a high. I didn't see that like same kind of movement like at the stem of his routes. Um, yeah, I totally see him as like close to, great elite in that category.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I might have to. I'll send you some timestamps of like moments when I feel like I did see those crisp routes because, I mean, there was one. I mean, he ran a corner route. Like, how often do you see a running back go out there and run a corner route? I don't know. It was,
Yeah.
and he had the guy on skates too. Quarterback saw it late, threw it late, and it ended up not being a completed catch. But like he won on a route that you just don't even see most running backs even attempting. So, yeah, I'll be really interested to see how an offensive coordinator uses him in this way at the next level because I think he does have more than what he was able to show in college. It's just the way that I mean, it's the collegiate level. They don't have. They're not usually having guys that know how to use a Christian McCaffrey if they come their way. They're just like he's a running back. He needs to run the ball. We'll throw him a screen pass every now and then. So, um, yeah. Anyway, all that being said, the last attribute here is pass protection, and this was by far my lowest grade for Jeremiah Love. I had him at a 5, which is slightly below NFL average. There were a few okay reps in there, and I do think that he like gave effort. I don't think it was an effort issue. I think it was a technique issue, maybe a little bit of an awareness issue getting there late at times. And to be fair, he wasn't asked to do it a ton because they were sending him out in route patterns um, more often than they were asking him to pass protect. But yeah, I just, and the PFF run grade or pass blocking grade for him backs that up. It's a 55.2, which is a pretty meh score. I didn't think this was a strength for him. The few times that I saw him pass protect, it looked like he got blown through, like he was paper in the wind.
Matt
I
is
don't.
the perfect way to put it. That was my exact thought. I gave him 5.5. I agree. I don't think it's a lack of effort. There's multiple times where I saw like a lack of awareness, like exactly where to go. Like the defensive end coming around the left tackle, like he's like starts to try and go inside to chip him instead of outside. Just little things like that that I think could be cleaned up at the next level.
I saw it the same way. I gave him a 5 for pass pro as well. Saw the same thing. He just didn't hold up in the protection. But like I will note that like I don't think that matters. Like if you've got Jeremiah Love on your team, you're not putting him out there to block for your quarterback. You're putting him out there to be a weapon, and he's going to be a weapon at the next level. And like I don't think that the pass pro is gonna matter at all, personally.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like this is our lowest weighted grade. Like we have it in there as a grade because it's not like it doesn't matter at all. I mean, it's like it's not.
It
It
can
can
keep you off the field if you're not good
exactly.
at the other stuff.
It can keep you off the field, but it's not going to keep Jeremiah Love off the field. Like when you're as good as he is, like the team works around whatever shortcomings are there. And again, like a 5 is not like we can work with a 5. I've had guys that I've graded as a 2 or a 3 in this because they just can't do it, too physically limited, or don't give good effort or whatever. And some of those guys have gone on to still be really successful NFL players, which is why it's our lowest weighted. Like it out of 100 points in our scale, it comes out to two out of our 100 points are made up from the pass pro here. So it's not making or breaking anybody's overall score for us. But like one of my lowest ever graded pass pro guys was Bucky Irving, and we loved him, and he's gone on to have a great NFL career so far. James Cook was one of my lowest graded pass pro guys that I've ever watched, and he's killing it right now. So this is not a deal breaker by any means. So with all that being said, we're going to wrap up the show here. We've gone a little long. I'll just wrap up by reading off our overall scores here. So I had him at an 84.05, and Jackson had him at an 84.45. Rupert came in at an 83.98. So we were all very close, and we all had pretty darn elite grades. Like our overall, when you composite R3, it's an 84.16. And just to, again, because this is new, 85 plus is a generational talent. 80 to 85 is an elite fantasy producer. So we have him on the high end of like an elite fantasy producer. This is a really high score. And historically, anybody that we've given like in the 80s has been a stud for fantasy. So I feel very, very confident locking in Jeremiyah Love. I think at this point he deserves the buzz that he's getting as the probable number one pick in rookie drafts, even at Superflex. I think he's going to be an elite dynasty asset. So all aboard the Jeremiyah Love train. Couch Scouts will be no exception to that. With all that being said, it has been a long show, but it's been a fun one. We're going to go record a bonus podcast right after this. We're going to talk about Katron Allen out of Penn State. Thank you guys for listening. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're using. Join our free community Discord. The link is in the show notes. It's a really, really fun community that, no strings attached. We just want to get to know our listeners. So definitely check that out.